Check, check. Mr. Mayor, we are ready.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Manager. I will now call to order the Riverside City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Denning?
Here.
Ms. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Lomach?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Present.
Mayor Williams?
Here. No absent members.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Maxfield to approve the agenda as presented. Any questions?
Oh, wait, I skipped ahead, sorry.
You did. There are no additions or corrections to the agenda, so
So there's our
you
question.
can proceed with the motion.
Overachiever.
Now that there's no additions or corrections to the agenda, and we already have a motion and a second to approve it, I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Agenda is approved. If you're able, please join us to rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If there's any citizens joining us tonight at the meeting who wish to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item, please fill out the form in the back of this room and turn it into the clerk up here on the dais with us. We will move along on our agenda. We've all had a chance to review the meeting minutes from our August 18th meeting. Is there a motion to approve those
Move to
minutes as
approve.
published?
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from the Deputy Mayor. All those in favor of approving the agenda minutes as published signify by saying aye. I'm sorry, the meeting minutes. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Looks like we have a liquor license transfer from Liquor Control.
Correct. This is just a transfer of ownership for the Sunoco on Valley Street, 2531 Valley Street. No issues with the background check, so no action required at this time.
All right, well, then we note the entry and we will move along. Madam Clerk, have there been any slips turned in for public comment on agenda items?
There have not.
All right. Then we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have an ordinance which will have its second reading, public hearing, and potential adoption. And this is the creation of our solid waste collection revenue fund. Mr. Manager, anything you want to talk about before we jump right into it?
Nope, just as previously stated, we require this fund because legally speaking, this is the way we keep track of those solid waste dollars to be sure they're spent only on solid waste purposes. And so this will allow us to deposit revenues into that fund.
All right. Well, the
Move to
Riverside.
approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. The Riverside City Charter allows for the reading of an ordinance to be done by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 250869, an ordinance creating the Solid Waste Collection Revenue Fund.
All right. I will now open the public hearing for ordinance 25-0-869 at 6:03 p.m. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments 3 minutes. Seeing no one and hearing no one come forward, I'll now close the public hearing at 6:04 p.m. Is there any further discussion among members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the question.
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Lomach?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We'll move up, blah, 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 blah. We'll now move on to new business, of which we have ordinance and a couple resolutions. The first ordinance, ordinance 25-0-870. I believe this is some property transfer that we talked about last time we were together with the CIC.
Correct. As discussed by the CIC's representative at the last meeting, this ordinance would convey the property parcels that they highlighted on a few maps that were shown. It's generally parcels down here in the Springfield-Harshman corridor. Those parcels will be conveyed to the CIC to repurpose for economic development and to put those parcels back into good productive use. And I believe there is a revenue sharing agreement with the CIC in place so that once those parcels are conveyed, the city will also see some proceeds as a result of that as well.
So move.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. The Riverside City Charter allows for an ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, could you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 250870, an ordinance declaring certain parcels of city property to no longer be needed for municipal purposes and to be surplus, and authorizing the city manager to execute documents necessary to convey said property to the Community Improvement Corporation of Riverside, Ohio for economic development and declaring an emergency.
All right. This is the first reading of this ordinance. We'll have a second reading, public hearing, potential adoption at a later meeting. Is there any further discussion among members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Lomach?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We'll now move on to our resolutions, of which we have two. The first one is to extend the moratorium we have for some specific uses with our land use code for an additional 6 months. Mr. Manager, did you want to comment any further on that?
It's just pursuant as to the discussion we had last meeting, that given the timing of the land use code rewrite, we believe a 6-month extension on the moratorium is legally advisable, but also gives us enough room to continue the public input process so that we have as robust as possible of zoning code when that's ready. So that's the reason for the 6-month extension.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Maxfield and a second for Mr. Brown. All those in favor of Resolution 25-R-3048 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And then our second resolution, 25-R-3049, is for the land bank, I believe.
Correct. Earlier this year, folks may have seen that the land bank was awarded a substantial amount of money for brownfield revitalization and remediation. We have a partnership in place with the land bank to apply those dollars for the old Danis Trey landfill site. This resolution allows the city manager, me, to execute any and all agreements that we need in order to utilize those grant dollars and try to figure out what's going on at that site and how to remediate it.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Joseph. You just have to talk louder.
Yes. I
And then a
heard it.
second from Deputy Mayor. All those in favor of Resolution 25-R-3049 signify.
Wait,
wasn't
no,
me.
it was Sarah. Second.
He said it first, but only I heard it.
No, I heard
No,
him,
he said
but
it, but then
But I did
Sarah
not.
seconded it.
Oh.
Not her.
Shouting.
So for the record, I have Mr. Joseph as making the motion and Ms. Lomach for seconding it.
Someone's out of order. Someone's out of order. All right, so we
Okay.
have a motion from Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
second from Ms. Lomach. All those in favor of Resolution 25-R-3049 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. We will move on to public comment for non-agenda items. Thank you. I believe we have one slip turned in for public comment on non-agenda items. And Mr. Ziegler, I believe you had turned in a slip for public comment on non-agenda items. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you would please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you again for being here.
Hold on one second, John, sorry. I apologize. I unmuted it there. Try again.
All right. My name is John Ziegler. My address is 4238 Blue Rock Road. Good evening, City Council.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. I was at the meeting last week, and I saw all the group, the CIC Downey group up here speaking about them wanting to get our land that we haven't been able to develop somehow. I mean, we got a department, I don't understand why that would happen, and why do we even have a department for development if the CIC wants to take our prime land? I think, we've already given, like $100,000 seed money or something. I really think that we should get away from this CIC. I don't see anything good about it, but that's just me. And I know I missed it where they surplus some land tonight or something. It was that the land that they were wanting that, it was at item number 2.
The second ordinance.
The second ordinance.
The
Yeah, so
conveyance of
like
that
the-
property.
Yeah,
This
that was
is-
only the first reading of that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there'll be a
I
second
mean,
reading, public hearing, and
So
potential
that
adoption.
passed already, right?
The first reading, but it's not yet.
Wow.
It's not yet become,
Okay. And it
not
was
yet become accepted.
unanimous? Okay, yeah, just, I don't understand it at all. Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. I don't know what else to add to that. Thank you.
All right.
Can I just clarify that the CIC is not a for-profit entity to make money at the expense of the city. They are working in concert to drive development goals of the city, and that this is a symbiotic relationship.
And the mayor and city manager is a part of the CIC.
That is correct.
So it's
And
not.
the law director attends every meetings on behalf of the city. And I recall when the county treasurer was here talking about cities that have been successful in moving properties that were vacant, abandoned, and behind on taxes, that other municipalities in Montgomery County who were using CICs effectively were able to clear those properties and bring them back to productive use, which is the intent of the CIC. We'll move on to discussion items, and I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A little bit of housekeeping for everybody this evening. Over the last several months, our HR staff, Ms. April Davis and Ms. Ashley Couch here in the administration office have been working on some proposed updates to our personnel manual. So for those who are not familiar, personnel manual is a document that is approved and adopted by the city council that just governs all the basics about employees, everything from sick leave to other kinds of leaves to the holidays that we observe, et cetera, et cetera. That manual has been a work in progress ever since I've been here and requires substantially more updates aside from the ones that I'm bringing you this evening, but I feel that it's better to sort of digest these in chunks, and we will make the updates as we're ready to bring them forward to you. So I have the first set of those updates that I just wanted to preview with you this evening at a very high level, and then following this evening, I'll give you the actual clean text that shows the proposed changes to the manual, and then we'll bring those forward at a later date for adoption by council. So just trying to do a high-level touch point on certain articles in the manual that we want to update. So a couple things here, again, just to sort of reinforce. The policy manual, as it's sort of lived and grown over time, has some rough edges. So part of our goal here is to just simplify the language that's in the manual. We're not necessarily changing a lot of substance in some places. We're just trying to make it easier to read, easier to follow legally, with the end goal being that we're trying to support the growth and development of our employees here, attract and retain high-quality talent so that the city benefits from those workers, hopefully over the long term. So first couple of changes here to go over. Article 2 is our article that lays out all of the definitions that we use throughout the manual. So I'll give you an updated version of this, but this is one of those areas where definitions were kind of all over the place. We've reordered them so that they're now in alphabetical order and created some, adjusted some scrivener's errors, little typos and things, and then just tried to streamline that language. So that's the major change that you will see in Article 2. In Article 9, so changes to, that article section is called hours of work, but there are a couple of sections inside that article that we have adjusted and aligned to try to be more compliant with our current practice and also make things just a little bit more clear, because some of the language that's in the manual currently can be read in a couple of different ways. So one of the first things here is that, for example, section 10.8, is a section that we will actually, I believe, relocate into this article. It's currently in another part of the manual, but it makes more sense to put it in here. And that's a section about transitional duty, which essentially says that if you're injured at work and you're still able to do some sort of light duty, our preference is for you to continue doing light duty rather than to take injury leave. Just sort of formalizes those kinds of expectations. There's also some rearranging to the sections having to do with hours of work, overtime, comp time, again, just so that this is a more readable document overall. And that adjustment to transitional duty really is more aligned with what we have done in the past, as far as just trying to encourage folks to report for duty if they can. Some of the bigger changes have to do with Article 10, which is the article concerning leaves. So the first change that we would make that's substantive, that we'd like a little bit of feedback from you all on, has to do with funeral leave. So the orange column here is the kind of funeral, or the kind of funeral leave that you could take. So if there's, if somebody in the family passes away, that's immediate, so spouse, child, stepchild, et cetera, our current policy is to provide up to 3 days of leave. We would propose up to 5 days, which again is sort of more in line with, I think, where general market trends have gone. And also, given the closeness of that kind of a death in the family, folks generally are taking at least a week anyway. So what this would do is provide that full week of funeral leave before sick or other leave or vacation leave would kick in. There is no change to other immediate family members, so that would remain at 3 days. Relatives not in an immediate family, as defined in the manual, we currently don't provide any leave for. We would propose at least giving 1 day, and then if folks want to take more, they could dip into their balances or reserves to take that additional leave.
While we're here, are we still keeping the language as funeral leave?
I believe so, unless there's I mean, you can use
I
bereavement
would
as another
say
term.
just bereavement, I
Yep.
mean, funeral leave implies that you're just going to be spending 5 days
Yeah.
attending a funeral. Bereavement is allowing a employee to have the time to bereave their loved one.
Fair enough, yep, I will make a note. All right. All right, we will make those adjustments. Next up, vacation accruals. So to be very, very clear, the effort or the idea here is we took a look at how much vacation leave non-bargaining employees, who are the ones primarily covered by this personnel manual, are earning on a calendar year basis, and we compared that back to what's already been approved in some of the collective bargaining agreements that we have. So the middle column here shows what folks are eligible for currently based on their years of service. And the far right column shows what we are already providing to CWA employees working 40-hour weeks who are also in these same service level buckets. So the recommendation here would be to increase non-bargaining leaves to be the same as or commensurate with what we're already providing to CWA workers. So that would really only affect 3 of these tiers. If you've worked here for more than 10 years but less than 15, you would get an additional 8 hours of accrual, vacation accrual per year. And similar adjustments then for 15 to 20 years and 25 years plus. And again, this is just the amount of hours that you can accrue throughout the year. There are no changes to carry over from year to year. We're leaving all that alone. It really is just an effort to try to increase the parity between what non-bargaining is making and what is currently in some of the bargaining contracts. In addition to that, we have had a couple of situations where folks will start working for us part-time and then they want to go full-time. The personnel manual is not super clear right now on how we're to treat the hours that they've worked while they were in part-time status, like how much of those hours counts towards their years of service for vacation accrual. So a recommended change in this policy is just to look at the total amount of hours a part-time person worked, calculate the full-time equivalent of that, and then use that to place them on the accrual table. That way we're not shorting anybody based on, it's like a start date. We're also not excessively moving somebody way up into the table if they've been part-time for 20 years and then just decided to go full-time, if that makes sense. So you'll see that adjustment in there too.
So it's hours worked based on 2,080 hours per year.
Correct.
So if they only work 1,040 hours for 2 years, they get 1 year
1 year of service, yep.
of service. Okay.
Correct, yep.
I got it.
We've got a similar recommended adjustment for sick leave payouts upon retirement. So I want to be very clear that you have to retire here before these get paid out. Currently, in the policy manual, the ratio is we will pay out 1 hour of sick leave for every 3 hours of sick leave that's in your bank. The current collective bargaining agreements pay that at 2 to 1, and we would propose updating the personnel manual to match that, so that if you do retire here, you'll be paid out for your sick leave at a 2 to 1 ratio, which is what we provide all the other employees. And there is language in the manual that would cap these payouts administratively. So the idea would be that my office would write a memo every year that says that basically we will cap the total amount of hours or dollars paid at whatever is commensurate in the bargaining agreements when those get negotiated each year. That way, we're not having to come back to council necessarily every time we update a bargaining contract to keep parity. We can just update the personnel manual administratively so that it matches this section. The idea would be to always keep it consistent. And again, this only triggers upon retirement, so.
What would happen if you failed to produce that memorandum?
Well, then we would have a problem. No,
So I'm imagining a future in which you move on, there's a new city manager.
Fair enough.
They're
Yep.
learning the job and they fail to produce it.
Yeah, I think what we would do is include that memorandum as an appendix in this manual and then update it, so there's always a record of the latest memorandum that.
So we would
has
default
been
to the
created.
previous one?
Yes, and there's also, I think, an opportunity to ensure that when we're going through, to me, the trigger point is when we're renegotiating CBAs. When we're going through the bargaining contracts, we're usually knee-deep in this manual anyway, because we're having to compare, back and forth between the two. And so we can create a number of touch points in that process to be sure that these things get updated. We can also look at some language in terms of writing that memorandum so that it references potentially one of the CBAs, so that we can say that this payout should always match whatever is in the latest collective bargaining agreement. So there are a couple
But so-
different ways of
Yeah,
approaching
so
that.
what I would be looking for is some sort of safety mechanism, that there is something to refer back to if that memorandum for, whatever year does not get produced.
Totally fair, and we will pay attention to that and give you some language that addresses that.
Thank you.
Vacation and sick, I know this isn't included in the tables. Do we have caps at all for carryover?
For carryover, for vacation, I believe we do, I believe it's 80 hours
It's
off the
80.
top of my head.
It is.
Just across the board,
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much.
across
unless-
all accrual tier?
For anybody that's subject to the personnel manual that doesn't have a contract that overrides it,
Yes.
yes.
Perfect. And sick doesn't?
I'm not sure off the top of my head if we cap a sick leave balance. I don't know that we do.
Wait, why?
I'll double check.
I can jump in,
Unless
Mr.
Jim
Manager.
knows.
Sick leave is not capped.
Yeah.
There's a sick leave payout cap upon various levels of service upon retirement. Now, again, this doesn't apply to an involuntary separation or some other types of separations from service. This is all related to retirement. So there's no cap on accrual, but there is certainly a cap on payout, if that helps.
So what is that, what do we use to set the cap on payout?
The cap is set on, well, right now, it's kind of a mishmash between what the different CBAs say versus what the manual says, which is what the manual says, which is what the manager's trying to make some parity with. But it's based on, in the CBAs, the years of service that the particular employee has. So a 25-plus year employee that's in a CBA will receive the opportunity for a larger cap on payout. And I can tell you anecdotally from working on many separation agreements or retirement processings that I've yet to see an employee retire with anywhere near a cap.
Okay.
Just by the nature of an employee working that long will have taken sick leave at some point. So this is to, I think, to Councilmember Fry's point, to ensure that there are checkpoints in payouts so that I think the city wants to make sure that a particular CBA is not treated wildly different, and we don't want our non-bargaining employees to be treated wildly different as well. There will be some differences by the nature of bargaining and by the nature of work that CBA subject employees do. But the caps are a safety net to make sure there are not wild liabilities hanging out, but also to, there's no cap on the accrual, because that's a benefit that we offer to ensure that folks are able to tend to medical necessities and maintain employment.
Right. So, I promise, I'll keep this as succinct as possible. I can't stand this. I hate sick leave policies that incentivize employees to maintain a balance in the hope of a financial payout. When you draft a personnel policy, it's sick leave to take time away from work to get better so you can be like 100% productive when you come back to work, right? So this is something you see, especially in municipalities, is people accrue these massive banks. And granted, we cap it, but this is one of the very few items in a city's chart of accounts that is a moving target, right? I mean, it's currently paid out 3-to-1, updating it to 2-to-1. So you accrue that, say you start off as a junior employee at a low rate of pay, you've been here 20 years, now you're making a very high rate of pay. That amount, 2-to-1, is increasing by 3% every, 1.5% or whatever your raise is, cut it in half. You're carrying that liability and increasing it year over year. Meanwhile, you're disincentivizing employees to take sick leave. So I know this is something where we have multiple MOUs that we operate under, collective bargaining agreements that we operate under with different staff. This is the one that we do control without arbitration. Just it's my opinion to set a good example. Incentivize your employees to take leave. Don't incentivize them to carry leave over an extended period of time just so they can retire with a little bit extra cash. It's not healthy for the employee, and it's not healthy for the city's finances.
We have the same situation in education too, Zach. It's kind of a catch-22 because when you're younger, you should be, in theory, healthier, right? So you accrue these days or hours, or education's days, here it's hours, because if you, God forbid, as you get older, you tend to have more health problems, so you hope to have more hours or days built up to help protect you in the case that you do get sick, you need to take a longer period of time off. I wouldn't say it necessarily incentivizes you to not take sick days when you're sick. I mean, some people might see it that way, yeah, but some people see it the other way. I'm one that sees it the other way, that you collect your sick days because so hopefully down the road, if God forbid you need them, you have them there. I mean, if I'm sick, I'm going to use a sick day to take off. Or if I need to go to a doctor to use this, I'm going to use a sick day. I mean, so I think it's one way you say this or no, it's vice versa. I mean, I think it goes either way. That's your opinion on that, and people have opinions the way I see it on that.
And to put something that's like a not opinionated statement into this deliberation is that you mentioned, like earlier in your career as a junior educator or junior administrator, you're accruing those, like while you're healthy, you're accruing a bunch of sick time at a lower rate of pay, and then you're cashing it out at like later in your tenure as an older adult at a much, much higher rate of pay. All the while, sick leave policies are supposed to incentivize employees to take that, so they feel they have enough adequate time off to take care of themselves when they fall ill, because that happens to everybody.
So, but also, if you have sick leave days, and if they're going to lose them, do you just want employees to take days off just to take days off, or they're going to lose them? Because that's going to happen too.
Wait, for like vacation leave?
No.
Or sick leave?
They have to burn their
They'll be
sick-
sick, they have to
if
burn their sick leave, they're just
before
going to
the end
take
of the year,
days
say they're
off.
sick.
I mean, if it was me and the advice that I've given is sick leave policies are a thing that we've done forever in this country, and a lot of places are just getting rid of them.
And that's your opinion.
Brenda had a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Brenda.
Rather than try to haggle over theoretical scenarios, can we have the financial repercussions, like, look back over how many times we've paid out sick leave and what those balances were?
I can get that for you. I don't know I don't know how helpful that will be, in part because this provision really only applies to folks that are retiring, and
Yeah,
It-
that's what, that gets to my point exactly.
so it's not a.
Like, it's not something that happens very often.
Correct. The other side of this too that I will say, and again, we're starting the conversation tonight. It's not a conversation that ends tonight. So, I will go back and we will look at this language and I can get you some additional context. But the only other thing I'll offer at this point is that with respect to building sick leave balances, sick leave banks, in Ohio, you generally can take a sick leave bank between employers. So, sometimes folks are coming in with sick leave, and then you can take your sick leave, and if you stay in Ohio and you go work for another city, you can take that entire bank with you, and they'll recognize it. So this is not a problem that we necessarily, first of all, I don't know that it is a problem. And second of all, it's not necessarily something that's always in our direct control. At the end of the day, it's a fundamental question of fairness. Because if you are a supervisor and you're supervising folks in a bargaining unit that get paid out much more generously than you do when they retire, then I could have a supervisor come to me and say, well, I had an employee who worked here for 30 years who got paid out at 2-to-1. I've worked here for 35 and you're only paying me 3-to-1. Why should I even become a supervisor? So, and that has happened. So those are the kinds of circumstances that we're trying to head off through changes like this to increase the equity between non-bargaining and bargaining units so that you don't penalize somebody for taking a supervisory position.
The last bit I'll add to this is we can get creative all day and tomorrow. This is how CBAs end up becoming these textbooks. At the end of the day, all these documents end up doing is painting compensation in a lot of different colors and textures, right? At the end of the day, it costs X amount of dollars to employ someone here at the city of Riverside, whether we're giving them accrued sick leave that's posed up on a liability. What the bottom line is, and what most studies show, what most employees are looking for, is that bottom line number. And this is just another cute way of just giving out money at a later time, or a different way to paint compensation, when really the main problem is that bottom line gross dollar amount that employees are looking for.
So I think that's enough for me to kind of take this back and keep doing a little bit of homework. I do want to keep us rolling, though. We do have a couple other sections to get through here. The next one involves injury leave. So we want to make adjustments to the injury leave section so that we are very clear, and I apologize, there's a little typo here that I was going too fast on. I see that always when it's in front of people. We are trying to be extra clear that the BWC claims are required to be approved before we will grant that injury leave. We don't want to be out ahead of the BWC and telling somebody that, that you can take the injury leave or no. So again, this is one of those points of clarification for the policy manual. As far as
The only issue with that is 9 times out of 10, it takes BWC forever.
that is true, and this section
And
does have
that-
some language in it about what we will do in the interim until a ruling is provided by BWC. So in
Okay.
general, we will go ahead and grant
I-
it up until they give
I
a.
had some major issues with BWC, so.
Fair enough, fair enough.
We're not self-insured, are we? We don't have, we actually use BWC.
We do, I
don't.
believe.
We don't have a separate company that,
Correct.
okay.
That's my understanding.
Ohio is a
I'll verify that, too.
monopolistic workers' compensation state. There's only one option in Ohio.
No, there's not. That's not true.
Well, I can jump in, council member.
Well, it's a-
and tell
it's a
you
different
we do
situation.
use BWC as our insurer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have also substantially rewritten the FMLA section of this. FMLA is one of those things where, because it's federal law, you need to be compliant with federal law. So a lot of the edits in this section are mostly a complete rewrite for clarity and brevity. So you'll see that presented much more concisely. We're also trying to better define when FMLA gets triggered and what the employee rights and responsibilities are under FMLA with what the city's organizational needs are as well. And again, this is all an effort to just make what the current requirements and practices under federal law are more clear inside our policy manual. Couple new additions for you to consider. You will see a provision in there to reduce sick leave counseling from 7 to 4 absences. This is an effort to give managers a little bit more latitude to intervene if somebody is taking sick in a pattern that raises a red flag. Instead of having to wait for 7 of those, we can just do it at 4. We're also recommending the addition of a paid parental leave program, so at least 2 weeks or up to 112 hours. That would be if you're on a firefighter or other alternative schedule. That would provide partners with the ability to help assist with childcare, newborns, those sorts of things. Also, pretty common, increasingly commonplace out there in the employment landscape. We've updated the maternity leave policy to be more compliant with the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, the ADA, and FMLA as well. And then we've clarified the role that HR takes in administering all of these processes, just to be sure that folks are not just telling their immediate supervisors, but that there's a natural hook into HR so that we can be sure that the paperwork gets filed timely. Things that are not changing, there are no changes to holidays, to sick leave donation, leave without pay, or any of the other major sections in these articles. We don't anticipate any major fiscal impacts. So Councilmember Frye, this kind of gets to your questions too. A lot of the tweaks that we're recommending here are for, that will have a financial or could have a financial impact, are for sort of edge cases where you have an employee that's been here for 20, 30 years who's retiring, which obviously is not every Tuesday, you know. So we believe that we can manage the changes that we're recommending inside our current budget. We're also respecting the terms that are in the CBAs and trying to increase parity with what's there already. So we're not, to be very clear, we're not trying to put non-bargaining units out ahead of anybody that's in a bargaining unit. We're just trying to make sure non-bargaining doesn't get left behind, which is part of the overall effort. So again, just to quickly sum up, the idea here is we believe these changes will help with employee retention and morale. It will also help just streamline what to do when employees come with these kinds of concerns, because right now we're balancing contracts plus a personnel manual. If there's more consistency with the personnel manual, it's more consistent and easier to administer overall. And again, it all goes to building that workplace culture that we hope will attract and retain employees and let us meet their needs, let us meet employees where they are, depending on what's going on in their lives, in a way that recognizes those needs, but also their service, and creates a good touch point to bring them back into the organization when they're ready. So that's a overall preview of what's to come. I think what I will do, based on the conversation that we've had here this evening, is go ahead and get some of the clean text version of some of these changes put together for you all. I'll have HR do a little bit of digging on some of these questions, and then I'll look at getting that to you early next week at the latest, just so you can have some time to review and digest, and we'll keep talking in the next couple council meetings.
All right. Any other items to discuss, Mr. Manager?
Couple quick updates. First, I want to recognize Officer Nick Vendetti, who he himself is being recognized with a Blue Coat Award from an area Knights of Columbus Council. I was just told about this afternoon. That award is given by Knights of Columbus Councils in recognition for service above and beyond the call of duty. So Officer Vendetti is being recognized for that. Many thanks to him for his service and for earning that distinction. It really reflects well, not just on him, but on our organization and the level of effort that our folks go to be good public servants. So thank you, Nick, for all your work. Also, we'll be having an open house reception for Chief Robinson and Major Sturgeon. That will occur next Wednesday, September 10th. The doors will open around 5 o'clock. We'll have some brief remarks around 5:30 and then just a reception to follow. It's really more of a community reception just for folks to stop by. All are welcome. If you have a few minutes, we'd love to see you that evening. And finally, the community survey regarding land use and zoning changes is still open, and I believe will be open through the end of next week, the 12th, I want to say. And so if folks are available and have an internet connection, you are more than welcome to take that survey. You can also stop by City Hall. We can walk you through the boards and go through the proposed zoning code changes there as well and get your feedback. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Well, I want to make sure folks know that we do have an executive session on our agenda for this evening, but before we go into executive, we will have council member discussion, and I will see if there's anyone who wants to offer any council member comments at this time.
I just would remind everybody, 10 o'clock in the morning is ribbon cutting for the new building for MSD down here on Springfield Street. We're asked to be on time. It's a joint effort between Dayton Chamber of Commerce and Riverside Chamber of Commerce. And then we'll be, you've all been contacted, so.
I have something to say. As we've all seen, Mayor Williams has been wearing a Stebbins Indians football jersey tonight.
Proudly.
Yes, and I would like to thank Mayor Williams and being a good spirit, and I wouldn't say first, but renewed rivalry between Stebbins and Carroll football game. And fortunately, I came out on top this time, and Mayor Williams had the opportunity to wear the Stebbins football jersey proudly tonight at our council meeting. So thank you for doing that, Mayor Williams. And I would love to, if Katie would like to get a picture of Mayor Williams standing up here.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
After the proceedings. The city business, Mr. Manager, we're still working, okay?
I mean, it's still streaming. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
We-
yeah, I think
need you
while
to
we're
stay
streaming, I
professional.
think we should,
I want to thank Jesse because he did, not many people realize this, but Jesse did a lot of things behind the scenes to make sure that that rivalry could get back on the field again for our community, which I was very, very glad for. Maybe not as glad 2 Fridays ago. But it was a great day, honestly. I started out the day with the superintendent handing out backpacks at Overlook for the Community Day to Give Back. So huge thanks to Crayons and Classrooms, Riverside, Mad River Lions, Hope for Riverside that donated all kinds of stuff so we can hand out backpacks to school kids in Mad River. And then I went from there with Officer Nick. We picked up a bunch of things that were donated by the Riverside Krogers for the community tailgate that evening. So the Riverside Krogers, Far Hills Catering, which is Lee's Famous Recipe, which has their headquarters here in one of our buildings, and WG Grinders, which is the catering company that runs Carol's Cafeteria, all donated food, treats, and drinks for that community event. So I think Chad said they handed out 800 backpacks during the day, and then that night we had hot dogs, popcorn, and drinks for like 500 people, and it was great to see folks from all of our community there enjoying some snacks before the game, and then it was a wonderful night for football. I did get a picture with Coach Bonifay with the new trophy, wearing my Carroll gear. I am a Carroll dad, so I had to be dad that night, even though I'm the mayor. But it was a very fun evening for our community, and great student sections on both sides. It was great to see the kids having fun, and it was just a great night for the community. So happy we could see that.
And just so to be clear, that's the whole purpose of this, is just try to bring our community together. We have three great schools in our community, but Stebbins and Carroll had played each other for several years, and it was always a good spirited event, and many sports and things like that. And there's many events that bring our community together, but there's nothing like a football game that, in my opinion, that can truly bring a community together, and that's the whole point of this. And thanks, Carol put on a nice event for the community tailgate as well. And
We'll see you next year.
yeah, and hopefully you'll be in a pink jersey next year instead of the gray jersey next year. So.
We'll see. Does anyone else have any comments before we go into executive for the reason listed on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask if there's a motion to go into executive.
Move to go into executive session for the reasons on the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Deng and a second from the Deputy Mayor to go into executive session for the reason listed on the agenda at 6:43 PM. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We're in exec. Thank you, folks.